We got CTV News running this article, struggling for post-truth reason, why some believe the Earth is flat. And of course, they start none other than the great Apollo 8 spacecraft in December 1968 photo from NASA. That's right. Nothing really current, anything. Let's just reinforce the idea that we solved this issue in 1968. Morons. But anyways, people are scratching their heads, and now they're getting the psychologists involved to figure out what's really going on. What could happen? What could happen with society? And should we be scared? Should we be worried? Oh, uh, we're getting a little fearful now. This could cause mayhem. Anyways, let's read the article because, yeah, you got to basically hear this to believe it. But, anyways, the Earth is flat. Vaccines cause autism. Former U.S. President Barack Obama spied on current President Donald Trump. Love how they just link all that together, bring in the vaccines cause autism. Obviously, they're going to be using this as absurdities, and like I've said before in previous videos, they will link other ones in here as well. You're going to see a lot more of this. Now, I've seen the whole, climate change deniers. I've seen the vaccines cause autism, how that's a real big danger. But now they're really getting into, the whole Donald Trump thing and conspiracies, and just I find it really fascinating how they're bringing this whole narrative together. There's no shortage of conspiracy theories floating around these days, and in this post-truth climate, even the most rational person might be tempted to question basic facts they once held firm. General paranoia in the wake of Brexit and Trump's surprise U.S. presidential win seems to have set a wide swath of people on edge. Okay, so they're going in on this. They're talking about we're in a post-enlightenment age driven by a reflexive mistrust of anyone who is in a position of authority and or responsibility. And yeah, that's correct. We definitely are in that position. The authority that we have been given obviously have been caught in some massive lies. Obviously, there is deception, there is an agenda. One by one, people are starting to pick this, apart. They're starting to see this, and yet the journalists, the media are rushing to really, say, hey, what do we do about this? What's going on? Why are people thinking this way? And it goes on. We've lost the appreciation of the fact that some things just happen, says Vance. Okay, so they have this psychologist here now, and he's talking. And anyways, we'll go into Shaquille O'Neal is the latest big name to float one of the most outrageous claims out there, that the Earth is flat, and we've all been manipulated to believe it is round. On his latest podcast, the Basketball Hall of Famer states, with no apparent irony, that he agrees with the Cleveland Cavaliers guard Kyrie Irving, who made similar statements earlier this year. I drive from Florida to California all the time, and it's flat to me, O'Neill said, despite incredulous challenging by his interviewer. Right, and that was the thing. I mean, if you haven't heard that interview, I'll put it up here. You'll see it pop up, but you have to listen to it because he's saying, Shaq, no, you are wrong. You are completely wrong. And he's like, no, I'm not. So yeah, it's crazy. It's really crazy. So, all right, let's just see what we got here. I do not go up and down at 360-degree angle. Okay, so we've probably all heard all this. If not, you can hear the interview yourself and check it out. But anyways, perhaps, okay, Shaq was joking, but in the popularity of niche internet communities and the rise of alternative news sources, there is any indication there would be a significant number of people who agree with his skepticism on authority. Well, okay, at least they're zooming in on where this mistrust is, and it's definitely in authority, like the structure of NASA and the authority figures that have been held up to us in scientism, like the Joker clown actor Bill Nye and Neil deGrasse Tyson. I mean, these guys, are just actors. They're celebritized people, spokesperson. I mean, you can see interviews where people are calling them out on this and they don't say anything different. They know this. They're spokespeople. That's all. They're just been set up to be front men when things come up. And again, like I said, Bill Nye doesn't even have, he's not even a scientist. And this is the reality. And yet the whole world's clamoring towards these guys. That should tell people something right away. But anyways, there are uncertain times, says Katie, a psychologist at Toronto Centre for Addiction and Mental Health, who notes that the political upheaval fuels deeper anxiety and distrust. Whenever there are changes going on or transitions going on, often people feel it emotionally. Oh, so yeah, so basically we're all in this because we're really upset about Donald Trump and it really caught us off guard, so now we're all flat earthers. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense there. Once you stick a whole bunch of emotions behind it, that changes everything, says Johnson. Emotion colors the meaning we give to things. It colors the way we communicate. It colors so much. She says most people tend to respond to debates in one or two ways. Okay, they fight and insist on arguing their point, or they take flight and retreat from the conversation entirely. All right, so here we go. More stuff about Trump and the White House. The articles about flat Earth, and yet they continually keep going back to this whole thing, wiretapping and different things, which is such a bait and switch because, again, we're talking about an article, asking why is this going on, and they're continually bringing up politics, which I find really interesting. But, anyways, when you're defending your turf, facts can become secondary to winning the argument. So now basically we have no facts. We're just wanting to win our argument, and we have no reason to do so. Um, you want to believe you made the right choices and the choice is good, she says. That's partially because emotional signals in the brain that normally head to the cortex where reflection takes place. Take a shortcut straight. And this is crazy. That was you're getting into all the biology that's going on when, this stuff happens, which, okay, this is just silly. I don't even need to keep reading it because it's just so crazy. Because again, you got this, psychology, and they're asking what's going on, and they're bringing back politics, and they're saying, vaccinations, and I'm surprised climate change isn't even in here, but oh, it kind of is right here. Still, Turtle says he's alarmed by recent attacks on scientific thought that range from the Ontario high school teacher that disrupted an immunization clinic by telling students they could die if vaccinated, to plans by the Trump administration to gut the Environmental Protection Agency. So there you go, right here, because this is the stab right now at saying, hey, we really need this. And they're the ones that are telling us that we need to pay our carbon tax to save the planet. And if we don't have this protection agency on the environment, we're all doomed. So again, they're bringing all this stuff in here, just like I said, this would happen. This continues to happen. And again, they continue on. A host of factors can lead someone to believe unsubstantiated theories, including confirmation bias, excessive scrutiny of opposing views, who their peers are, and a mere fact that it feels good to blame someone. And they come from all walks of life. There's no data to show that the people who believe in this stuff have any differences in intelligence or education or religiosity, says Turtle. They've come to believe these things the same way you've come to believe all sort of things that I think are stupid. Oh, well, thanks, Turtle. Thanks for that end of that wonderful article saying that basically everything in here that you think is stupid. And I guess they're all things psychology, so we can't really, debate. Again, here's the mistrust. The authority figures, and they bring on the psychologists to try to figure out what's going on. And, it's just nonsense. So shame on you, CTV News. And this is a Canadian network running this, and I don't know if it was actually on the actual news, but what a horrible article. So again, that's CTV News showing you the picture, the 1960s picture of the fake globe Earth, which is a joke, but yet they put this in there. But what I'll say is this, that, some people actually go a little bit further, but this one gets even more interesting. But let's go over to Yahoo because they actually, instead of talking to a psychologist, they want to talk to someone that believes this and find out some answers to the questions they have. So we're over at Yahoo News, and we got, why do conspiracy fans believe the Earth is flat? We spoke to one to find out. This is really interesting because, like I said, there's obviously some truth in here, and I'm not sure. Maybe someone in the community can let me know exactly if anyone knows who this Roger is that they interviewed. Yahoo News spoke to Britain flat earther believer Roger, 46, a builder from London, to find out why people are attracted to the idea. So they basically say it right here. And again, I'm not sure who this is. Maybe someone can let me know who it is. I'm curious because, like I said, there are some things that he brings up, and gets people thinking. There's some other things that, well, why in the world would you say that? I'm not saying that, everyone would be perfect in an interview, but again, if there's some legitimacy to who this person is. If there's not, and no one knows who this person is, then it goes to show that they're not interested in getting anyone from the community, whether, it was Mark Sargent or Eric Dubay or whoever they're looking at, ODD or Bob Nodell or Jaron or whoever they're wanting to look at as someone that has, a larger following, or they've actually looked at kind of a compilation of someone's works to see what's kind of going on. If not, then we're dealing with basically a fake person or just someone that they actually threw in there and came up with some of these questions and answers. But anyways, what attracted you to the idea that the Earth is flat? I saw something about the flat Earth one day, and I resonated towards it. I remember taking a picture on an aircraft and looked back at the picture. There was no curvature. If you assume you're looking at something, you will see it. That's the reason people think the Earth is round. Okay, so we go on. Who told you about it? People are believing in the flat Earth more and more. I first saw it when somebody that I knew, a DJ friend of mine, shared something about it online. I know him, and he's quite a knowledgeable guy. I gravitated towards it. All right, so far it's kind of weird story, but let's just continue on. Is the idea getting more popular? To begin with, there's hardly anything about it. Okay, sorry, yeah. To begin with, I guess in the beginning, there was hardly anything about it. It was very minimal. So this Roger person, I guess, goes back pretty far, maybe into 2014, 2015. Now there are thousands of websites and YouTube videos. I think YouTube deleted 60,000 videos. That to me just proves it even more. Not sure about that accusation, but let's continue. Why would anyone try to lie that the Earth was a globe? The reason people are trying to hide it is that they want us to believe that we all come from a speck of dust, that everything is pure chance, and that we're spinning around the universe, somehow miraculously developing and growing. It makes you feel insignificant. It takes away your desire to be a better person. If people understand that the world is flat, that the stars rotate around us and the sun rotates around us, people would start to believe that this has been built by design. People would gravitate towards God. The world would be a better place, wouldn't it? Okay, not bad answer. I mean, there's some things that I might disagree with, but overall, okay, it's one of reasons, possibly. But let's continue on. Who is behind the conspiracy? Yahoo News asks. There's no globe, no rotation, no orbit, and there was no Big Bang. The idea of a round world is so that capitalist society can keep its domination of the world. You see little shops being pushed out by big shops. You pay money for things that shouldn't cost money. Okay, this here, I'm sorry, like, what in the world is that? Okay, you start off, oh, good, there's no globe, and you're telling people there's this, but then you follow it up with the fact that little shops are being pushed out by big shops. You pay money for things that shouldn't cost money. I mean, I don't even understand where that's going. Maybe someone can clarify where Roger was maybe going, or is this to really make it look stupid? Because again, you have a chance to say who's really behind this. And again, I'm not saying that everyone conclusively knows exactly, but again, you start to structure it, whether you start talking about the Antarctic Treaty, you start, probing, getting into these questions saying, isn't it weird? Like, I don't know, but it's weird that these guys are doing this or that, and what are they hiding? But to sit there and say it's a capitalist society, and that little shops are being pushed out by big shops. I mean, probably the worst part of the article. I don't understand. Maybe I'm misunderstanding something. Please let me know in the comments if you do know or if you think that's as silly as I do. And if, by all means, if there is actually a true, legitimate reason why that was put in there, that helps or benefits, people looking into this, I'll be the first one to apologize. But other than that, that really threw me off. Are all flat earth believers religious? If you thought there was something watching you from the top of a goldfish bowl, you would be a better person, wouldn't you? That's how I feel. But a lot of flat earth believers come from a scientific viewpoint. One YouTube guy I watch is a scientist. He's basically angry. Every time he tries to prove that the world is round, he just proves it's flat. Anyways, that's actually pretty funny, actually, if you think about that last part of the article. It's like one guy he's watching is a scientist. He's basically angry. So you got an angry scientist that he's trying so hard to prove it's round, but he keeps proving it's flat. I would love to know who that guy is because that's just funny. So Roger, if you're real or even if you're not, that's really funny because I got a good chuckle out of that one. Um, what about space missions? Don't they prove that the Earth is round? The space program is 100% fake, just like the moon landings are fake. It's all tinfoil and curtain poles. And for anyone that actually hasn't seen the close-up of the lunar lander and all of this nonsense, it looks ridiculous. I mean, if you want a good laugh, I mean, you could laugh, easily for 15, 20 minutes straight if you actually just concentrate and look at how silly that is. He's correct when he says it's all tinfoil and curtain poles. It's Scotch tape and it's plasticine. It's just ridiculous. But anyways, all NASA's images are CGI, every one of them. President Obama said 3 years ago that in 10 to 20 years, we would get out of the Earth's lower orbit. Well, how did we get there in 1969? It's really stupid. It's like me saying I've been to Liverpool, then in 10 years' time going, I want to go to Liverpool, but people just don't click. But people just don't click. So I think what he's saying is just people just don't get it. It doesn't click in. It doesn't register. And really, it is totally true. In the 60s, we supposedly went, 240,000 miles away, and yet the furthest they've gone, in almost 50 years is 400 miles. And this is reality. This is, look it up yourself. I mean, look up any source you want. NASA themselves will admit this is how far they're going. They say constantly on the ISS, which is 250 miles, supposedly high, that one day hopefully they can go to the Mars or the moon or beyond. And these guys are saying they're doing all this experimentation and research to hopefully travel further. And I mean, if you start really looking into it, you'll see exactly they're getting caught in lies over and over and over again. And this is an interesting picture, just out of the blue, picture from NASA. You got the Earth here, and you got this little print there, you know. So yeah, I don't know what they were trying to show with that, but anyways, I think they were trying to say, look, Bigfoot was on the moon. Look how big that is. What is that? Anyone know what that is? Is that actually the shoe print, or is this? I'm not even sure. I don't think I've even seen this picture before, but anyways, it looks silly. It looks fake. And they're always right by the edge of the moon. You ever notice that? They're just like, yeah, we're just right by the edge, just drops right off, you know. So anyways, let's continue on. What about satellites? NASA is fake and a lie. If there are satellites, how come you never get reception when you're on top of a mountain? The internet all comes from cables under the sea. Well, here, Roger, you've got a point here. You start looking into it, all the cables are under the ocean. It is all land-based, triangulation, high towers, all these sort of things. Start looking into it. I know it seems insane, but what about GPS? What about your phone? All these sort of things. Anyways, a good thing to look into is satellites. Really look into it. Look into the other side of it and see what a lot of people are coming forward, even from the satellite industry themselves, technicians, you got engineers, a lot of people are asking questions. Things aren't adding up. What proves the earth is flat? If you tell people the world is flat, they think you're an idiot. But when you're 4 years old and they tell you the world is round, they think they're an idiot. Then you ask, what about people in Australia? Why don't they fall off? The reality is there's no such thing as gravity. Instead, there's a force pushing you downwards. Okay, here's the interesting thing. I mean, most people in the community, believe that it's, buoyancy. It's things that, are heavier, kind of like a helium balloon will float. Gravity has no effect on a helium balloon for that matter. So I'm not sure about this. Instead, there's a force pushing you down. So gravity doesn't exist. The reality is there's no such thing as gravity. Instead, there's a force pushing you downwards. Well, I don't even know what that means. I don't even get it. But anyways, that's like it's like totally contradicting the first term. But anyways, if the world was really spinning, why isn't there a breeze? All right, whatever. What do your friends think about your beliefs? They think I'm crazy, but being part of society is a trick. I feel like slavery. Okay, weird way to end an article. Like I said, let me know if Roger's in there. I found, this article very interesting because, they're like, well, let's talk to someone, but they don't reach out to anyone in the community. Zero. They just find some unknown Roger from UK. And honestly, I can tell from the answers, I'm very suspect that he's been involved that long because some of these questions you wouldn't, when you have the chance with Yahoo. But then you have a video here. Look at this. Slow motion footage of a lemon creating a ball of fire. I mean, what does this have to do with the article? I'm reading the article. I see this at the bottom. I had to like end off with this, but like slow motion footage of a lemon creating a ball of fire. What are they trying to get at? Conspiracy theorists light lemons on fire. Flat earthers are nuts and they destroy fruit. Let's get them. Let's get them. How dare them burn fruit? What did that have to do with anything? I don't know. But again, every time I refresh this page, that was the first relevant video at the bottom that would appear. Someone lighting a lemon on fire. Maybe it's to show, hey, if you're in flat Earth, you're crazy, and you're probably it's gonna it's gonna result in you going mad and burning fruit and balls of fire. All right, Yahoo. Not sure. Maybe the community can help me out on a couple things in here, like that picture. What's this? I'm not sure. This came up. Also, who's this Roger guy? 46. Like I said, there were some good things he said, get people questioning, but for the most part, I think it made him look nutty. And I'm not saying anyone can do a perfect 100% job in an interview. I just think some of these things, why would you spin them off this way? And why wouldn't Yahoo actually go to some credible people in the sense that they've actually, been part of the community, they're knowledgeable, maybe they've done previous interviews. I'm not even saying a certain person in particular. I'm just saying very interesting that some of the things coming up when most people are going to read this are going to throw people off. Now, the odd person is going to read something like satellites and going, I'm going to, disprove that. And like I said, most people become a flat earther because they try to disprove flat earth. So anyways, I'll leave it at that. I've been going on. And I just thought I'd show you the difference between Canada Network sitting there and getting psychologists and getting their so-called experts to dissect what's going on and the psychology of it all. But really, it's continually coming back to we're nutty, we're crazy, we're paranoid, and we're really upset about Donald Trump. Which, what does that have to do with anything? And Yahoo, what does burning a lemon have to do with flat Earth? Maybe you guys can help me. Thanks so much. Let's keep exposing the world's lies and celebrate truth. John 14:6. Blessings. With society, and should we be scared? Should we be worried? Oh, we're getting a little fearful now. This could cause mayhem. Anyways, let's read the article because yeah, you got to basically hear this to believe it. But anyways, the Earth is flat. Vaccines cause autism. Former U.S. President Barack Obama spied on current President Donald Trump. I love how they just link all that together, bring in the vaccines cause autism. Obviously, they're going to be using this as absurdities, and like I've said before in previous videos, they will link other ones in here as well. You're going to see a lot more of this. Now, I've seen the whole, climate change deniers. I've seen the vaccine all been manipulated to believe it is round. On his latest podcast, the Basketball Hall of Famer states, with no apparent irony, that he agrees with the Cleveland Cavaliers guard, Kyrie Irving, who made similar statements earlier this year. I drive from Florida to California all the time, and it's flat to me, O'Neill said, despite incredulous challenging by his interviewer. Right, and that was the thing. I mean, if you haven't heard that interview, I'll put it up here. You'll see it pop up, but you have to listen to it because he's saying, Shaq, no, you are wrong. You are completely wrong. And he's like, no, I'm not. So yeah, it's crazy. It's really crazy. So, teens cause autism, how that's a real big danger. But now they're really getting into, the whole Donald Trump thing and conspiracies. And just, I find it really fascinating how they're bringing this whole narrative together. There's no shortage of conspiracy theories floating around these days. And in this post-truth climate, even the most rational person might be tempted to question basic facts they once held firm. General paranoia in the wake of Brexit and Trump's surprise U.S. presidential win seems to have set a wide swath of people on edge. Okay, so they're going in on this. They're talking about we're in a post-enlightenment age driven by a reflexive mistrust of anyone who is in a position of authority and or responsibility. And yeah, that's correct. We definitely are in that position. The authority that we have been given obviously have been caught in some massive lies. Obviously, there is deception, there's an agenda. One by one, people are starting to pick this, apart. They're starting to see this, and yet the journalists, the media are rushing to really, say, hey, what do we do about this? What's going on? Why are people thinking this way? And it goes on. We've lost the appreciation of the fact that some things just happen, says Vance. Okay, so they have this psychologist here now, and he's talking. And anyways, we'll go into Shaquille O'Neal is the latest big name to float one of the most outrageous claims out there, that the Earth is flat, and we've all. We got CTV News running this article, struggling for post-truth reason, why some believe the Earth is flat. And of course, they start none other than the great Apollo 8 spacecraft in December 1968 photo from NASA. That's right. Nothing really current, anything. Let's just reinforce the idea that we solved this issue in 1968. Morons. But anyways, people are scratching their heads, and now they're getting the psychologists involved to figure out what's really going on. What could happen? What could happen